True or false, Zoro versus Mr. One is still his best fight so far in One Piece. Let me know how y'all feel about it in the comments, because honestly, I think it is. And that's not really a knock to everything else he's had. It's kind of just like a testament to how perfectly written that fight was for his character. Similar to a Luffy versus Lucci thing, because I still think that's his best fight. But that's enough about the past. Let's talk about the future. We're in Elbaf. Zoro has some exciting upgrades along the way. He just learned that he has Conqueror's Haki, which is crazy because some deranged fans would have told you that he's better with Haki control than Luffy, so he would have figured it out before. But whatever, we beyond that. Let's talk about what's confirmed. Black Blade, Advanced Conqueror's Haki control getting better. Ashura Mastery, all of these cards are in play for Zoro's future. But who is he going to use them against? I don't know. Let's talk about it today. Let's talk about Zoro's path to the pinnacle and who we think his next few opponents will be confirmed. Who do I think he's not actually going to fight? And I'm also throwing a little wild card there. Let's go ahead and hop to it. Now, while we're in Elbaf, I don't really want to talk about this too much because I don't think that Zoro is going to have like a fully drawn out like Zoro fight. It's going to be a moment. He's going to have some good moments, but I think Elbaf kind of ends up with this, at least this current tension in the arc kind of ends abruptly. God, they keep cranking this car up and what are you doing? But anyway, I don't think it's going to be like a full out fight. I think it's going to be a big clash and maybe he defeats somebody, but it's not going to feel like an actual fight for Zoro. He's just probably just going to work on his Haki mastery. But will it be Killingham? I don't know. Will it be? It's not. I think Summers is gonna be Sanji. Killingham. I mean, it has to be, right? Or maybe I've had the idea that it was maybe gonna be a situation where Zoro and Sanji both fight against these Dory and Broggy Domi Reversed versions, because that's kind of where their rivalry started in that arc of Little Garden. So it'd be cool if it kind of came full circle and they wound up taking out these two giants that they met when they started. But it's probably gonna be the Holy Knight. So Zoro versus Killingham, and you know he'll be cutting up him slicing through all the nightmare creatures would be fire. And yeah, I don't really got too much for Elbaf. I'm really more so looking towards the future. So let's go ahead and get to it. All right, let's go ahead and get Shiryu out the way because I have been very vocal about my lack of excitement for this fight. And it's not me being a doomer. Oda can always write this to wind up being a good fight eventually. But I just feel like the clear fruit just kind of ruins what it would have been just an actual clash between swordsmen before Zoro fights Mihawk. Like, I've been asking for this shit since, when did Zoro fight a swords? I mean, people keep talking about the squid or the octopus from Fishman Island. I'm cool, bro. Let's be serious now. But whatever. I just feel like, dog, it seems to be a very clear lack of people who are dedicated to the blade for Zoro to fight in today's timeline. Now, the question of when it happens is very important because that question is kind of linked to the discussion about who's the actual final villain in the story. Is it going to be Emu or is it going to be Blackbeard? I don't know. I like to come to the idea that this is a pirate manga. At the end of the day, the final battle will be pirates versus pirates. But the more I learn about Emu, it just seems like they have so much wrapped up in this story and also so much stuff linked in the past with Joy Boy that I find it hard to see a scenario where we're looking at Blackbeard being the final villain. But at the same time, the opportunist that Blackbeard is, and the fact that he's also been shown to already have some plans with taking over the world government, or at least infiltrating it through Saturn and becoming an island affiliated, which is actually pretty nuts when you think about it. I think that Blackbeard has something cooking where he could either defeat Emu or not. I think Luffy has to be the one to defeat Emu, but he finds some way to leave their fight and show up at the last minute, maybe take Emu's devil powers. I don't know. He's gonna do something. So what we're looking at for Zoro versus Shiryu right now, like I said, I'm disappointed with the clear fruit stuff. But if Blackbeard somehow comes up out of that Emu situation with some of Emu's powers and the power to grant people demonic transformations, then Zoro versus Shiryu can be something very different. So I'm holding on to a little faith. Because like I said, I just don't care about Shiryu right now. I see a lot of people trying to upscale him and glaze him or whatever. because, you know, Zoro fans is going to find some way to make Zoro look better. I'm saying they talking about Shiryu Admiral level and this and that. Aokiji tricked that man out of his spot after a month. let's calm down. But speaking of Aokiji, I guess it's time to go ahead and get to him. Now, when it comes to Aokiji, I don't think Zoro fights Aokiji. I know he's front and center on the thumbnail. And by the way, I cooked with that thumbnail, right? Just keep it a theme with me. You know, I was cooking. But honestly, I think that whatever Aokiji has planned for the Blackbeard Pirates, or, you know, whatever he has planned for himself, rather, is gonna be executed before we wind up fighting against the Blackbeard Pirates. Whether that's him trying to betray them, I think with him not being, like him being on that final panel at the end of Egghead, at the end of the speech, separate from Blackbeard, just kind of confirms that he's in it for himself. He's doing something. He has a plan. I'm doing a lot of hands things in this video. I hope somebody don't like. It's just how I get my thoughts out. But whatever. I don't see a scenario where he's still around, and if he is, I just find it hard to believe. Honestly, and this is my theory, I've been saying it for a while, I think that Kobe, I know it sounds crazy, let me cook. Kobe and Smoker together team up and take out Aokiji if he is hell-bent on staying with the Blackbeard Pirates. I just don't see it, bro. I think that Kobe has a necessary, that can be his final villain. It kind of helps him propel him closer to being Admiral level in the series. It also gives Smoker some well-deserved feats and screen time. And with the connection that they both have to Aokiji, with Smoker and Aokiji both being around each other a lot so far in the story, and Kobe and Aokiji both having the same teacher, Kobe gets to spin the block for Garb, Smoker gets to do whatever for Smoker. You know, it just makes a little bit more sense than Zoro versus Aokiji. Because at the end of the day, like, it's as annoyed as I am with the Shiryu stuff, he does seem to have ties to Wano. I know it's not really nothing concrete or confirmed, but even just in his epithet, Shiryu of the Rain just sounds very Wano-esque. Well, we got Kiku of the Lingering Snow, and it's a lot of, is it Kanjuro of the, what is it? Let me look that up, actually. I'm finna see. Okay, it's Evening Shower Kanjuro, which, I mean, the traitor being themed with rainfall out of Odin's crew, and then you got Shiryu of the Rain. I mean, I'm just saying, maybe I just put something together. But nah, I think Zoro is pretty much guaranteed to fight Shiryu in that regard. But if he does fight Aokiji, I mean, it'd be welcome. I think his Admiral matchup is still Fujitora, but, you know, it's gonna happen. Dang, am I gonna talk about Fujitora in this video? I guess so. All right, let's talk about Fujitora. Is there a scenario where every Straw Hat big fighter, which is Monster Trio, we're not even talking about Jinbei, he's cooked at this point. Is there a scenario where the Monster Trio gets an Admiral matchup? I think Luffy and Sakazuki is pretty much one of the most confirmed fights in the story. Zoro versus Fuji makes sense, but Fuji just has so much other stuff going on where he is rebelling against the Marines to an extent. He can't show up on any base until he captures the Straw Hats, or was it Law? Allegedly. I don't see Zoro really fighting Fujitora because I don't know if there's a motivation there. Like, what is Fujitora gonna do? I mean, I can see where there's a scenario where the final war begins and Fuji is called in and he has to fight Zoro. And they had the little short clash during, what was the film, Red? Was that, no. What's the name of that movie? It was mid anyway. The one with Douglas Bullet. But, I don't know, man. If he fights an Admiral, I feel like it's Fuji, but I can't give you a definite reason behind it aside from Fuji just going against everything that seems to have already been established for him, and one day just saying, "All right, let's go fight the Straw Hat Pirates." I don't see it. But Zoro versus Green Bull is actually a lot more, because he does have a blade on his hip, you know, and you know a lot of people try to say it's a black blade. That's not true. But he does have a blade, so you know Oda loves to give Zoro opponents a little significant blade that they barely even use during the fight, but they have one. So Zoro versus Green Bull. Now I was around I'm pretty sure most of you were, because this was after the COVID boom of One Piece. Can you set it on YouTube now? I know it was a point. Whatever. This was after that little boom of One Piece, but it was theorized for a long time that Green Bull was going to be Zoro's dad. That wound up being further from the truth than possible. Like, I cannot see that. But it still was something there, right? Zoro, was it Ushimaru, had the cloak with the green bulls on it. I don't know what this... It felt like Green Bull Shamba Wano was going to be like a coming home situation where he thanks to Straw Hats, but instead he wound up actually being scum of the earth, which is hilarious. But yeah, the fact that he came to Wano, he was wilding and he got a little sword on his hip. It comes down to it, and the Straw Hats all have an Admiral matchup. I think it'll be Zoro versus Green Bull, and Luffy versus Sakazuki, Sanji versus Kizuru. All right, let's get off the Admirals. Let's go to some more interesting prospects. Okay, Venus Zoro will be a penciled in, written in the stars opponent for Zoro. He seems to be the welder of the Shodai Kitetsu. They both clashed already, and both of them commented about the Kitetsu blades. Even though my boy Sanji got a good lick in him. Now you pause. He got a good lick in on him. He's a Zoro opponent. It's undeniable. And I'm actually very excited for it because, yes, I know I was just talking about how adding a devil fruit in the foray kind of ruined my idea with the Shiryu and stuff. But I feel like for Ethan, it's more of a zone type fruit. And yeah, he got the ice stuff, but we don't care about that. And it's not going to really ruin the swordsmanship aspect of the fight. Like, we're going to see Shiryu slinking around and hiding and shit and doing all this other shit. But with Ethan, at the end of the day, like, he seemed to just be a big horse dude with a sword. And I love the theory of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse being a part of the Holy Knights and the Gorosei, because we got Ethan, and then we just got Killingham's fruit with his hybrid shown, and there might be 2 others. But Ethan's design is fire. His fruit looks fire. He's gonna be an amazing fight for Zoro. It's gonna be good to see the whole Kitetsu storyline wrapped up. Zoro probably leaves that fight taking his sword, right? Because I see a lot of people say like they act like he can't have more than 3 swords in ownership. Like just because he uses 3 sword style doesn't mean he just can only be restricted to 3 blades. Like, I'm pretty sure he's gonna get that Kitetsu blade that's gonna add and make 4. But at the same time, I'm also of the belief that he gives Momo back Emma because it can help him with his haki growth. So maybe he does wind up with just having 3. But nah, I definitely see a scenario where Zoro wins, takes back the Kitetsu blade. That whole little storyline is wrapped up. We finally get all the 12 Supreme Grade blades. At some point, I'm praying we get all of those revealed. And I'm just excited for the fight in general. The Gorosei stuff is fire. By that time, he's going to be cutting advanced Conqueror's Haki users, no problem. Because I'm pretty sure this arc is when he's going to figure it out. So that's not going to be the main focal point of the fight, like figuring out how to do damage against these guys. It's just going to be a fight. So yeah, I can't wait for that. Now let's talk about the big dog, Zoro versus Mihawk. I don't think words can really describe how excited I am for this shit to finally happen. I've been waiting since, man, I was, 13 for this fight? Bro, I'm 26. I got a son. Wow. Jeez. Anyway, I've been waiting forever. No, I was actually like 11. But let's not talk about how old I am. Zoro versus Mihawk is one of the most anticipated fights, not just in One Piece, but in anime, period. And I think that, I have a wild and crazy theory about when it happens. And, it kind of goes back into that whole pirates fighting pirates. Like, that would be the final battle. It's not going to be Luffy versus Emu. It'll be Luffy versus pirates. And I think that at the end of the day, maybe Lodestar, maybe on the shores of Labtail, you get Luffy versus Blackbeard, Zoro versus Mihawk. You get a mixture of all the crews. So Cross Guild makes it, the Red Hair Pirates make it, and the Blackbeard Pirates, or what's remaining of them, make it. And Luffy versus Blackbeard, Zoro versus Mihawk, Sanji versus Ben Beckman, Robin and Crocodile go at each other. Jinbei and Lucky Roo, Usopp, and what bro name is? Oh yes, it's that. I think that mixing those crews together fills in a lot of holes for matchups because we looking at them and we like, yeah, but who does this guy get to fight? Who does that guy get to fight? I think that it's gonna be a thing at the end of the day where it's like a Davy back fight where like one winner takes all. and them gonna be the last ones. And that kind of gets rid of the Luffy versus Buggy thing, because maybe he can be involved in a Luffy versus Shanks situation. I don't know. I said Blackbeard earlier, but he might be dealt with too, or maybe he is just the final villain, because he's not like his crew has to be around. Because it's kind of implied. I know I'm getting away from Zoro stuff, but whatever. It's kind of implied that Blackbeard's crew might leave him high and dry when things get rough. And it might be a situation where it's just Blackbeard that arrives to Laptail alone. So that also goes into that. But regardless, whatever, Zoro versus Mihawk will be the pinnacle of swordsmanship. It will be when my boy finally achieves his dream. I cannot wait for it. Because, boy, Oda got some work to do fixing Mihawk betrayal. Like, Jesus. I love Mihawk. But, man, what are you doing? Like, if you was going to do that at Marineford, he didn't have to show up. You're going to have... And obviously, as annoying as it is, his character is linked with Shanks. It's just a fact. They were rivals. They got the 1 centimeter thing going on. So, like, it's just going to always come up no matter what. So, if you're going to have him being compared to Shanks in the past and this and that, then you're going to have him at Marineford doing what he did. You're going to have him join Buggy's crew as the number 2, even though that's not really what's going on. It's still what the world thinks. And Oda wouldn't do that with other characters. You think Oda would put Whitebeard in a situation where he's under Buggy the Clown? Unless Rocks winds up being like Buggy, then that's just shitted on, which I doubt. But whatever, you get what I'm saying. I think Oda does a lot of things to Mihawk that he wouldn't do with other characters who are of a certain ilk and respect. And it kind of ruins the way people look at Mihawk, is why so many people disrespect him, because I am one of those people that thinks Shanks is stronger. But I don't think it's a wash. I think it's like they fight 10 times and Shanks wins 6 compared to 4. But like, you got a lot of people that think Shanks just watch him 10 times, or that Mihawk is weaker than the Admirals. So like, I think Oda got some work to do fixing that portrayal. And it's got to start before Zoro versus Mihawk, actually. Like, he needs to get a W in before then. But it just has to happen, because we got to respect Zoro's title when he finally gets it. And what better way to do that than by making it feel like something that is actually monumental. Make Mihawk seem like such a legendary figure in the world that Zoro beating him really does move him out. Okay, so if you feel like I missed anyone that Zoro is kind of penciled in to fight for sure before story end, let me know. I see a lot of Shamrock stuff. I wouldn't be mad at that, because, like I said, I don't think he fights Shanks, but that would be cool. If you feel like my assessment of Zoro not fighting swordsmen enough is wrong, also I'm open to discussion. Let me know in the comments. Appreciate you for watching the video. If you made it this far, leave a like and subscribe. More content on the way. We getting consistent. It's time, baby. You feel me? Yes, sir.